Godzilla versus King Kong. Hell, you ain't Godzilla or King Kong, because I'm both.
If you come at the king, you best not miss.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this contest, and new
Acknowledge us.
Hey, guys. We're at the Red Carpet Ring. We'll talk about WWE SmackDown Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens brawl again. Keep the lights as we come into the ring. We're going to talk about it. Now, this is SmackDown before Saturday night's main event. And we will talk about the coverage of the show. And of course, we'll get into some current news. And then we'll also get to the bonus round talking about why the brand split is over between Raw and SmackDown. With that being said, let's get into it. But before we do go into anything else, guys, we're going to look at the match card for the show. Let's look over that real quick and see what happened. Now, this was the show that this was advertised. LA Knight versus Tama Tonga. Chelsea Green. Not Chelsea Green, but and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Michi and B-Fab. Then another tag team match, we had Pretty Deadly versus MCMG. But let's get on right into it and let's see what's going on. Now, we had Cody Rhodes. He opened SmackDown. We had an open the show. He was interviewed by Joe Tessitore. And Joe Tessitore interviewed him. He wanted to see, get pretty much talk to Cody Rhodes about preparing for the contract signing and also the Royal Rumble. So what he did, he said it was a pleasure to have. Joe told Cody pleasure to have him. And then he said the fans had also meet some special talking about hometown son of a plumber, talking about Cody Rhodes. Then they talked about the contract signing. Then Cody Rhodes said that Shawn Michaels is clearly a perfect person to moderate the contract signing. He also said that he watched not one, two Royal Rumbles. He knows something about ladder matches. And then he also talked about, it was just, I'm going to be honest, like I said, it was pretty typical Cody Rhodes promo. I know he talked about, he got to do what he got to do for get, contract signed, got to put down Kevin Owens and all that. He wants to leave. The goal for Royal Rumble is to leave Lucas Oil Stadium as the WWE champion, retain his title. We get all of that. It's just, it's nothing out the ordinary when it comes to Cody Rhodes promo. I can't go more than that enough. I've been talked about this whole thing when he comes out. But with that being said, let's go on to the first match of the night. First match of the night, we had MCMG versus Pretty Deadly. Good match, but think about this, we've seen this before. They just faced these guys 2 weeks ago. Now, with that being said, MCMG is already number one contenders for the title, for the tag team titles. Now, I know backstage, Pretty Deadly talked to DIY about taking them out, handling their business, and they basically was told in so many words that if they were to beat MCMG in this match, maybe they get a future title shot against DIY. But let's clearly see DIY is using them. My long story short, MCMG once again defeated Pretty Deadly like they did a couple weeks ago. So nothing there. Let's go to the next match of the show. We have another tag team match. And this was B-Fab Michi versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Nothing to brag about here either. I mean, this is clearly coming down to Chelsea and Michin, and Michin tired of being outnumbered by Chelsea and Piper, and she got B-Fab to help her out. We see that. This tag team's nothing special, you know. Typical Michin do the long back dance, um, So I don't know. It's just nothing crazy to talk about. Nothing crazy to talk about when it comes down to that. I had nothing great. I had nothing spectacular to say about this at all. Nothing. Yeah, this match was not all that great. I wasn't big on this match at all. But it's clearly a setup for we can get a rematch, which will be next week against Chelsea Green for the Women's United States title. So we'll see how that turns out. Next match on the card, we actually had a segment slash match. Now, this initially started when all women of we had two champions come out in the names of Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton. They both came out. Tiffany was going to talk about, her title, and Rhea Ripley talked about her title. So we had both women in the ring at the same time. The WWE Women's and WWE Women's World Champion. They were both out at the same time when it came down to it. So that was a good moment. I know a lot of people like that, which was good. That's how the whole thing started between this whole segment actually. But like I said, we had that going on. That was the whole case of that. And if you guys remember, Rhea, we know Rhea and Tiffany, they're going to wait for their next challengers, So this was good when they came out, brand new champions. And then later on, after that, shortly, we had all these women come out talking about they clearing for a Rumble. We had Nia Jackson, Candice, then Bianca and Naomi tag team champions. But long story short, all these women came out. They declared for a Rumble, and then it ended up becoming a brawl. They had that, but then it became a tag team match between these women. So I believe the tag team match, if I'm not mistaken, it was Candice LeRae, Liv Morgan, and Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Now this tag team match, again, this match was only set up because it's a preview of the Royal Rumble. All women gonna be all for themselves. We saw that in the promos. And the winners of that match was Liv Morgan got the pinfall, and it was she got the pinfall actually on Bianca Belair. And this was due to distraction. But that was it for that. Then of course the crowd did talk about Charlotte Flair coming back to the Royal Rumble. So we had that. They talked about that as well. They cut another vignette, and we know that Charlotte Flair is going to be back. We know that she's going to definitely be in the Women's Royal Rumble this year. Besides the vignette we saw last week. So they also mentioned that as well. In the video package they had set up for Charlotte Flair, and she's clearly going to be a heel. So we saw that as well. So that was a clear setup of that. But other than that, that was the end of that particular match. Let's move on. We also had Apollo Crews versus John Gargano. We know that this was going on to Apollo Crews being attacked by John Gargano because he was telling Pretty Deadly they were being played by DIY. Johnny didn't like that. He said, mind your own business. So this was a solid match between these two. Later on, Tommaso Ciampa, he interfered. He attacked Apollo a little bit. But MCMG came out to distract Johnny Gargano. That allowed Apollo Crews to get the pinfall, which he did. And he got the 1, 2, 3. He gained the victory. So congratulations to Apollo Crews. I can't remember last time he had a match on TV. Live TV, and I'm not talking about dark shows either. It's about actual live television. But let's get on to the next part of the show. All right, we had Tonga versus LA Knight. Now, this was steaming from the night before. This was advertised from last week. And they had a little pre-game warmer. They are no longer considered the bloodlines. Only Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Solo supposed to come back. I think next week. But I know Jacob. He had a good words on the mic when he came out.
Hell, Godzilla versus King Kong. Hell, you ain't Godzilla or King Kong, cause I'm both.
So he said that this was Tama Tonga going out. Him and LA Knight, they had a good back and forth. Good offense from both, actually. I know Jacob Fatu got out there. He caused a distraction to LA Knight. I know, too, that, Tama Tonga, he has great energy. Always kept with the energy. But LA Knight almost lost the match due to distraction. But LA Knight was able to hit the BFT on Tama Tonga and get the pinfall. Then later on, Jacob Fatu's opponent, Braun Strowman, came out. And you know that at first, Tama Tonga was trying to stop Jacob from going out there. He pushed Tama Tonga off. That's how real Jacob is going to be into his singles run, his whole solo. He's basically going to be on his own at some point, very soon, if not sooner. Now there's no more bloodline name to the whole thing. And these two, they had a little face-off, everything. And then next thing we came out, it was just, man. He even odds with Jacob Fatu because Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu attacked LA Knight after the match, and But other than that, though, Tama Tonga, he looked good physically. We don't see him with his shirt off, but he good. He had the little vest on. He's in good shape. I know he's in his 40s, but Jacob and Braun, I want to see the battle of the Giants, though. Definitely want to see more of that. Let's go on to the next part of the show. We got brand new SmackDown transfer window. Damian Priest going one-on-one with Carmelo Hayes. Now, we know Carmelo Hayes, he always trying to find a sneaky way to get a win. He always does whatever he can. But Damian Priest, being a veteran that he is, he had the upper hand early. Carmelo Hayes had some good control at one point. It did start off slow, but then it picked up a little bit. Carmelo Hayes had a near fall a couple times, but we knew Damian was not going to lose, especially against Carmelo, because Carmelo has to lose a lot in order to build him up. And he hit the South of Heaven on Carmelo Hayes. 1, 2, 3. Damian Priest defeats Carmelo Hayes. So that was good. And no take, Carmelo Hayes did sell that choke slam very well. He's a good seller. So we got to talk. That's a good thing too. But let's get on to the main event of the show. We got Kevin Owens versus Jimmy Uso. This there from the beginning of the show when Kevin Owens was mocking Joe Tessitore, saying Michael Cole ain't there, and Jimmy just came out and attacked him. This was a solid main event. It was okay. It wasn't bad at all. We knew that Kevin Owens was going to get the upper hand at some point. There was super kicks. It was like a land of super kicks at one point. I gotta say, land of super kicks going back and forth. So we saw a lot of that. That was going on. Well, than that though, not bad at all of how this was set up. Jimmy Uso got a spear at one point. Jimmy Uso got some super kicks. He also got the splash. But KO caught him when he tried to go for that last splash. He actually hit him with a powerbomb, not a stunner. 1, 2, 3. We knew Kevin Owens needs to win to build momentum into this match against Cody Rhodes. And then, of course, he attacks Jimmy Uso afterwards. He tries to do the package pile driver. And, of course, we see Cody coming down. They attacking each other, going back and forth. And that's pretty much the it of Friday Night SmackDown. Now, that was the it of that show. Had a lot of matches on there. A lot of story going on. We're leading into Saturday night's main event and the Royal Rumble as well. Now, I'm going to give my rating on this show. Now, based off what we've seen for the show and everything else, I got to be honest. I got to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought the show was very average, very mid. Not too big on it. But I understand we got Saturday night's main event coming up at Royal Rumble. They don't want to put everything into one show. And we could expect the same thing on Monday Night Raw. So we got to keep that in mind as well. Well, than that, though, it wasn't the worst show. It wasn't the best show. WWE's trying to balance everything out. So we got to give them credit for that. But with that being going on, everything, you know, we got to go over what you guys think of. You guys can let me know what you think of the ratings. Now let's see. People said here 69% gave it an A, 18% gave it a B, 5% gave it a C, and actually 8% gave it a D. So some people gave a worse grade than I did. I thought I was being harsh. With that being done with, we're done with SmackDown. Let's go over what went wrong with Raw. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about what went wrong. All right, let's get into it. I think I'm stating the obvious. All right, one thing I noticed, I am so tired of this Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes storyline. I was hyped up about it. Started at Bad Blood when Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes outside during the press conference. I was happy about that, but I'm just so tired of it. Cody Rhodes cuts the same promos every week, talking about what he's gonna do to Kevin Owens. Then we see them fight, brawl, and it's every time Kevin Owens cuts the about to attempt to do a package power driver, or he's gonna do some real damage to somebody else, and Cody comes for the save. But it's kind of, we see this all the time, and I don't like that at all, not one bit.
What's gonna happen? No. Words? No. You just made the list.
Yeah, I don't like how this is going. I really hope they have the big payoff, big storyline, big finale when it comes to the Royal Rumble ladder match, undisputed titles. I really hope something does happen, because this really, really, really needs to stop. The story is just not doing nothing for me. Cody and Kevin Owens are both becoming predictable. I know Cody Rhodes, he is nearing the end of his WWE Championship run. If not WrestleMania, SummerSlam of this year, I wouldn't expect him hold on for another 6 months to max, 3 to 6 months. But with that being said, let's move on to what else I did not like about Monday Night Raw. And honestly, I said this before, the show was average, but it was real down to mid. And I'm going to explain why this show was average. If it wasn't for a few contributing key factors, the show would have been much worse than it was. And that's the whole truth about that situation there. I really was. We saw a couple of the repetitive matches. We saw MCMG just fight Pretty Deadly a couple weeks ago. We missed the whole. We seen that, Chelsea doing the same old thing in every match, being a cowardly heel. It's some things getting real repetitive. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, repetitive. We just need some new story, and we did get some new story. We're gonna have some new stories going on SmackDown, and I will get into that shortly. But that don't mean I still don't like it.
What's gonna happen? No. Words? No. You just made the list.
So yeah, this was not cool. Was not a fan of this at all. And another thing I don't like, and I just touched on it now, but it's inevitable. It needs to happen. I know it will. I know that this was a big moment when this happened when this particular moment happened in WWE, and this was actually at the last Saturday night's main event. I understand that too, but it's old saying the fairy tale's over, and I want this fairy tale to be over. And it's just too much. It's too much at this point. And as a whole, I'm just not a fan of it. Maybe you guys are. I'm not. Not after the way things have been done after this. And I'm going to get into it right now of what I mean by that particularly. What I'm talking about is when this moment happened for WWE, and it was for this recent title that was just introduced to the WWE universe. And what I'm talking about is, guys, because of the way the character and everything been going, I actually can't wait. I hope Chelsea Green loses the title soon. She only defended it once since she won it. Now I know she only had it for a month, but I was expected to be defended maybe at least twice. Um, you know, I'm not saying she gotta lose it right now, but nearing maybe WrestleMania ish, right after WrestleMania ish, have her lose it. She clearly won this title for her character, the feminist, independent woman character, Kamala Harris isk, and the pop at Saturday Night's main event. And I see that, and I don't like it. I like that she won. It was good at the moment, but the way her character's been progressed since then, nah, I don't like that at all.
You know what's gonna happen? No. Words? No. You just made the list.
So I don't like that, but let's move on to what went right with SmackDown. And let's talk about it. What went right with the show. Despite what I said, despite the show not being my favorites, stuff happening that night, there was some good things that happened, and we're going to get into that. One thing I will say that was good, I will say I do like that we got women declared for the Royal Rumble. I'm glad that's happening now. I'm glad that they got the women declared. Now, during this episode of SmackDown, we had not one, not two, not three, not four. We have 5 women declared for the Royal Rumble because it is 2 weeks away. I'm glad they're doing that. We have Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Nia Jax. Because we know that they're setting up with Charlotte. We already knew was in there. They showed that earlier that night, Royal Rumble. But at least it's good as official. And I like how they display these women all declaring their spot. You don't always have to be on the Raw. Glad it happened on SmackDown. And then they have the champions out there as well. So this was a good call by WWE to do that. I thought it was great that they highlighted that. So kudos to WWE for doing that.
Yeet.
So yeah, this was a good thing for them to do. I would love to see what the next things, who else going to declare on Raw, because this is only the beginning. It's 29 women. 5. It's going to take more than 5 to complete the Royal Rumble match. So that was a good part. Another thing I want to mention. This is a big mention. It's even just as important of this, if not more. I want to talk about the transfer, the SmackDown transfer. I agree with. Now, Shinsuke declared for the Men's Royal Rumble. If I didn't say that already. All right, we had The Miz come from Raw, transfer to SmackDown. We had Damian Priest transfer to Raw to SmackDown. So we had 2 men that were on Raw transfer to SmackDown, and we had one group, but 2 men, and Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, 8 Town Down Under, go from SmackDown to Raw. These were good moves, and I say that because there were too many stables on SmackDown. There were not in tag teams. There weren't enough single stars. The Miz single star, Damian Priest single star. Miz, he was tied up in that final test with Karrion Kross, and we know Karrion Kross sent him over there. We know that he was behind that because Karrion Kross double crossed Miz. And Damian Priest, there was nothing else for him to do. He lost the world title. He feuded with Finn at Judgment Day. He beat Finn twice. There was nothing else for him to do as far as that goes. This was a good call to do that. I have no problem at all. And then we saw a tease when Damian Priest met up with Cody Rhodes. He told him, "See you later, champ. See you later." So he already hinted at that. He hinted at that already. That there's going to be a future feud between Damian Priest, former world champion, against the current WWE champion, Cody Rhodes. So we already know that's going to happen. Miz, he's pretty much, and I'll say this too, the Miz swap places with 8 Town Down Under. Segment filler, comedic relief. So they pretty much, that was an even swap. Because Grayson Waller and Austin Theory weren't doing nothing. They was on NXT the other night. Like, come on now. Nothing was going on with that situation. But I'm glad that this was a good call because SmackDown was very lopsided for Raw as far as having people on the show go. So I'm glad that happened. And this, again, good call by WWE. This was good. So yes, this was a good transfer window. Another thing I want to mention I liked on SmackDown, Jacob Fatu speaking more on the mic. That man can speak on the mic. I like what he said on there. He went in, and with Jacob, he go in. He don't play around. There's no more bloodlines. I stated before. You know, they more. Maybe he'll team with Tama for a little bit longer, but he's gonna eventually break off free and be on his own. He already got a singles match against Braun Strowman, but I like how they breaking Jacob out. Jacob definitely has a bright future ahead of him. Definitely a bright future. All right, but that was a good part on that. So definitely good. I like where this is going. This is a good thing with Jacob Fatu. We know that this was needed because I know they held him back because they want him outshining Solo. We know that as well. So just want to keep that in mind. But I do like where things are going. Definitely things are going. It's going to be solid. I cannot wait to see what else is going to happen as far as that goes. So this is good. Very, very good. So Jacob, he's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to get better. So we got to keep an eye out for Jacob. And I think this will be great. But other than that, though, I would love to see what else is going to happen. I would love to see how they're going to build his character. Especially, it's going to start off with the match against Braun Strowman at Saturday night's main event. So we're gonna definitely see how this whole thing's gonna play out. So as long as they do that, I think it'll be great. Definitely be a great thing. And like I said, it's pretty much gonna be no ceiling. There'll be no ceiling for that, the way I see it. Because these guys definitely gonna go at it though. And other than that, Tonga, I don't know what's gonna happen with him. You know, will he be by himself or he gonna be that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they're gonna do that. I'm not sure at all. But we're gonna have to see how they're gonna pan that whole thing out because they still waiting for Tonga Loa to come back. So, but other than that, that's gonna be a good thing. We'll see how they're going to play this out with Tama Tonga as well. But I do not know how the whole thing will play. That I'm not sure. So we's got to pay attention to it. And I think it'd be great. We just got to keep our eyes open. And I think they'll be great. I think they'll be fine. And we'll see what happens next, though. But until then, we just got to see. We just got to see how they're going to do the whole thing. And Jacob definitely needs to be on his own. It's time. And I can expect him to have a few with Solo at some point as well. So let's keep that in mind, too. But that's all I have for what went right and what went wrong with Raw. I mean, on SmackDown, excuse me. That's all I have for those two. You let me know what you thought was good, wrong things, and right things. But let's get on to current news. Let's move on to that. All right, current news. Current news we'll talk about right now. And the current news we have for WWE is in wrestling world, they say that there is serious talks for Nikki Bella to return to the ring. She will be returning after WWE. Could it be at the Royal Rumble PLE? Maybe. Could it be at WrestleMania? Maybe. But she's supposed to be coming back. I don't know who she's going to feud with, but they definitely want her to come back. So we'll see how that whole thing's going to play out. I would love to see how that's going to work. I don't know if she feud against Liv Morgan, one of the newer girls, Um, but we'll see how time flies. But I don't know if you guys are excited about Nikki Bella coming back. It'd be a good nostalgia thing, good moment for the old fans who follow Nikki Bella growing up, and for the current fans who are a little familiar with her, or people that want to know more about her. Because we know Nikki Bella, she had an issue with WWE last 2023, and she didn't want them using her name and all that, and now she's back. So we'll see. We'll keep our eyes. We'll see what else is going to happen. But with that being said, on that note, we do have bonus Raw coming up. We talked about SmackDown, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens brawl again. We talked about that situation, and we talked about right and wrong, and current news. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. So now we got to move forward, and we got to get to the whole basics of everything. So let's get on. Let's talk about the bonus round. Let's get it going. All right, we hit the bonus round. Let's get it going. All right, we're going to talk about now why WWE just needs to officially end the brand split. We need to talk about that because let's be honest, WWE has been playing with us, guys. Um, brand split is one of the big things I did like about WWE. Don't get me wrong, I liked it a lot, but I think over the years things have changed, and we've seen that, which is not a problem. That's the part of life. Things, it's evolution. Things evolve, so we understand that as well. The thing about it is, as more things change, some more tend to stay the same. So we also have seen that as well. Now, the thing about it is, this has not happened just with one superstars. This whole occurrence happened with multiple superstars. We've seen this happen a lot, more than usual. Now, when we did see this, we thought it would be great. Great to show up, great to pop up on an episode, everything, which was great, which was a good thing. But I gotta actually go into the reasons why this really don't make any sense anymore. It just doesn't, and we're gonna get into that now. Um, like I said, just let's get into it. Thing about it is, and that's the first thing I want to talk about. Every week, we see Raw and SmackDown superstars on both shows, or at least as They're not. They don't have more than they should. They appear on the shows way too much. And the thing about it is, we see that, and there's been a number of cases. We've seen it actually this week alone. We've seen that. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, we saw Kevin Owens on Monday Night Raw. Now he clearly is a SmackDown superstar. We know that. We know that's the case with that situation. Kevin Owens is not a Raw person. And that was one part of this recent episode of Raw. Another one, Nia Jax was on Raw. Now Bayley, I understand her. Bayley just got transferred from SmackDown to Raw because we did not see Bayley on this episode of SmackDown because she got transferred. So Bayley, I'm excluded from this. I'm talking about Nia Jax. And there was really no sense for her to be on there. But we see that quite often. Now that was just Raw. We see that going on. And we see that quite often. Now I know they had to sell for Royal Rumble. We really didn't need Rhea Ripley, who's from Raw, on SmackDown. We didn't need her on there. And then of course I know Liv Morgan and we was on there, then everything. But we see that quite a bit. We see it quite often, having all these women and men bounce around from show to show to show. We see that a lot. And matter of fact, not only that, they do have matches on opposite shows. And that's the crazy part about that. That happens a little bit too much. And I'm just saying, we don't need to see that anymore. We don't need to. It don't make no sense to do a brand split at this point at all. I don't understand. It just don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. So, I mean, not only we saw that, I believe they announced as well next week on SmackDown, another person that's not even a part of SmackDown, they're gonna have a match, and we're talking about Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan's going to have a match next week on SmackDown, despite the fact she's on Raw. Now, unless they got some plan to transfer all these women, which I doubt, it don't make sense to do that. It just doesn't. And we see it's too much, way too much. And let's be honest here. I'm gonna break it out another reason why the brand split finally needs to end. Let's be honest. Again, like I said, times have changed. Now we in the era where we have Raw on Netflix. SmackDown went back to USA. We got NXT moving, evolving as well on CW. I'm just talking about Raw and SmackDown, now NXT. I know the photos up there for NXT, but since Raw's on Netflix, a streaming service, not a TV network, back then TV networks were known to request certain stars to be on each brand. We know that, and we know that they wanted certain people on their brand to help boost the ratings. We are aware of that too. That is known. That's been shown in history. That's definitely shown in history. So we know that's the case. They've always done that. But it's no longer needed. It is no longer needed. And it just don't make sense at all. And when they do that, it don't really help at all. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, USA Network used to have Raw request certain people and all that. We know that. But you don't have to do that now. You don't have to do that now. The days of that are over. And that goes along with the draft. So there's no more of that boosting ratings and having certain people on the show. You don't have to do that anymore. It don't make any sense. It don't. So, and then and as we can see, Netflix is allowing WWE to get some freedom into how long they end their show each week. You don't really need a brand split for that anymore. Don't make sense. Now, this is another number one reason. This is another big reason why, and I hear nobody talk about it that much. But I'm gonna talk about it. This is why the brand split is no longer needed. The thing about it is when when it comes to brand split, that's exactly what's supposed to be, a split between two brands, Raw, SmackDown. Because when we first introduced the brand split back in 2002, that was monumental. But like I said, now we in the days of we on a big platform. WWE's evolving, and Netflix and Raw have shown that. If you haven't paid attention, it's shown that they have changed the game for the better, not just for WWE, but for wrestling industry altogether as a whole. That's just what it comes down to. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to accept it, that's what it is. And that's how it's gonna that's how it's gonna stay at the end of the day. There's no way around that. There's no way around it at all. There's no way you could change that whole dynamic. It's definitely gonna make everybody's gonna shift. Next several years, mark my words, all wrestling companies will shift over and do things differently than they did before. So that's just something you have to keep in mind when it comes to that. Now, let me get into the reason, one of the big reasons why I believe that the brand split should be no longer. And the reason I'm going to say right now, and like I said, they don't really touch on this like they used to, but this used to happen too back in the day, especially with the first brand split. And they started a little bit with the second brand split when it was reintroduced in 2016. But what I'm going to talk about actually is I'm talking about the whole, there's no more branded pay-per-views or PLEs anymore. I don't know if you guys remember or if you're not familiar with it. Back then with the brand split, at the first brand split and even beginning of the current one now, they used to have branded pay-per-views at the time. Branded only pay-per-views. If you look on the left, that's the Great American Bash. Back in the day, in 2005, 2006, that was a SmackDown exclusive. And that's the 2004 Great American Bash with Tori Wilson on the cover. Now, if you look to the right, that's Vengeance 2005, the famous Hell in a Cell match with Triple H versus Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. Vengeance was a Raw branded pay-per-view, and they only had that. And the thing about branded pay-per-views, for those who are not familiar with it, it will be a pay-per-view. It won't be both Raw and SmackDown superstars like we see with all the PLEs. It will only be Raw superstars on one pay-per-view, or SmackDown superstars on a SmackDown pay-per-view. And this was a big benefit of the brand split. We haven't seen this, I want to say, in the past 8 years. 2017, I believe, was the last time they really did it, if I want to be honest. They haven't done it for years, but this was a big thing that they did back in the day, and I haven't seen that since then. And I don't think they're never ever going to go back to that. I don't think they are, but it was a good thing to have. It was a good thing to have, and they just stopped it. Now I know that, when they talk about buy rates, they don't have that no more because streaming. It probably was producing the best numbers. I understand that. I understand that too, but it still was a great benefit to have. It was a very good benefit to have, but they don't do that anymore. I wish they would get back to that, because I will be looking forward to looking towards a PLE for Clash of Champions. But times have changed, though. They have changed for the better, I would say. But that's how it used to go. It used to go down just like that. Now, like I said, this was 2000 and 2004, 2005. This was the first brand split that happened. So there was, I know, like I said, some people may not be familiar with the whole brand split as far as that goes, because I used to like seeing, only a Raw exclusive or a SmackDown exclusive. I always used to be very invested in that, and it was a game changer because we never heard of that before. But since then, even for you guys that don't like it, I get it. This is the days before AEW came along. This is the days before TNA was really getting to where it's at now. So there's competition again, whether you think it's competition or not. So they really don't. That's one of the reasons they really don't need it anymore when it comes down to that. Now, like I said before, those were those were pretty much the ruthless aggression days. That's what it came down to those times. Now we can talk about a little more current stuff that happened. This was about 8 years ago. This right here is about 20 years ago. We're talking about, but there was a little bit more current as far as branded pay-per-views go. So, and what I'm talking about specifically, we're talking about, we had Clash of the Champions 2016. Now this is the second brand split. This was for Raw. And as you guys can see there, those were all mostly Raw branded titles. Kevin Owens Universal title, all the red titles, United States at the time, a Raw title. So that was the thing about that then. So that did happen. Just to, refresh your memory. That was a Raw branded pay-per-view when they did reintroduce the brand split. They tried to do it again, but it didn't work, and I believe that was the reason, because the buy race was not good enough. They was losing money instead of making money. And SmackDown had their own too. They had No Mercy. This was back in 2016, same year. The Miz and Maurice on that cover. It was only for SmackDown. Then they tried something different. We saw Clash of Champions on Raw branded. They tried to move it to SmackDown later. This was the following year, 2017. We saw Charlotte AJ. That was a SmackDown brand. And then after 2017, they just nixed the whole plan altogether. And they said, forget it. We're not going to do it. If we do any pay-per-views or PLEs now, it'll include both brands Raw and SmackDown. But since then, you really don't need a brand split. Brand split, you really don't need anymore. And that was 8 years ago. Last time I think they had the last branded only pay-per-view. So with that, it don't make sense, And like I said, not only is the business evolving with that, this is another reason really don't need it. You may not think too much into it, but this makes a perfect reason why you don't need brand splits anymore. And this is recent news. I talked about this before. The WWE TNA partnership. Now, we got Raw on Monday, NXT Tuesday, SmackDown Friday, but we do have a partnership with TNA, and TNA broadcasts TNA Impact on Thursday nights. And in this recent episode, we seen NXT stars go over there. And we've been seeing TNA stars go to NXT. So when you do have stuff like this going on, the Netflix deal and this whole partnership, you really don't need a brand split anymore. You got people on each other's shows anyway. What's the purpose of a brand split? So that's the whole thing. Now there's even rumors I say, that John Cena may go to TNA, make an appearance, and may even try to win the TNA World Championship. But that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true. It's official. Just want to notate that. There's a rumor floating around. Maybe you guys heard already. If you haven't, that's what I've heard recently. But you don't need a brand split anymore. It makes no sense. And then this whole WWE draft. You guys know how I feel about the draft. The draft is a setup to release certain superstars. In the draft, all they do is draft same people to the same show. So that's another reason too. This has been spoken about, but I'm gonna talk about it again. it's the useless draft. That's what I'm start calling it. It's a useless draft. It don't make sense. You don't need it. But that's the reasons I have. They draft people from the same show. You're on Raw, you get drafted back to Raw. You're on SmackDown, you get drafted back to SmackDown. The only thing that makes sense if you draft someone from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. How you gonna draft to the same show you're already on the main roster? If you want to copy off NFL, only draft NXT people only. So, like I said, this here don't make sense to have a brand split. It don't make sense anymore. It's kind of useless at this point. It really is. And this whole transfer window is cool, but you really don't need that either. How much you want to bet that we're not going to see within the next few months? Now we're not going to see Miz, Damian Priest, or Austin Theory and Grayson Waller on Raw or NXT or somewhere. Either of those three. How much you want to bet in the next few months? One of those three is going to pop up on Raw or another show. I guarantee they're going to do that again. Back to what I said. Don't need a brand split. And that's all I have for why WWE don't need a brand split anymore. It don't make any sense to do this anymore. Just end the brand split altogether. You guys let me know what you thought of Raw with SmackDown being a one thing, no two separate brands. You know, you guys let me know what you think. Soon to videos will pop up, guys. You guys click the links below. You already know what it is at this point. It's OUT.
Something happened this weekend, and I have been struggling with it since I retired. But this weekend gave me closure.
Wow.
It really did. Like, it was fun. Obviously, it was fun. I mean, you can't, doing this for as long as I have and